Okay, 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's 3, 2, 1. Wow.
Whoa.
Oh shit. Here we go. All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello everybody, and welcome to This Nintendo Life, episode 321. My name is NBZ, and the countdown has truly begun. I'm here, joined as always by Bally. Hello, Bally.
Hello, MBZ. It's been a day.
It's been a day. Why has it been a day, Bally? What has happened this day?
Well, basically, Bally Chew's he's a bit under the weather. And so when you have two kids and one kid is under the weather and needs extra nap time, my duty was staying with Bally Chew, and Caroline was out with Bally Jr. So Caroline was out with Bally Jr. I'm looking after Bally Chew. He did a nice long nap today, and basically he was basically a little bit sick like a couple of days ago, and then today he woke up from his nap. I had a nice session of Overwatch while he was napping. That was very nice. And then woke up. He was on my lap, and then he just unleashed absolutely everything in his stomach in about like 4 rounds of throwing up. And this is not just like little baby sick. This is like he ate a lot of yogurt this morning and 2 Weetabix, and there was like everything was just on me and the carpet, and then I like had to hold him, and then while I'm holding him he's just doing more, and I'm like, man, being in the house with just him and he's just single parenting while all of this is happening, it's like, oh boy, this is this is parenting hard mode. Let's go. And then every time I get thrown up on by one of my boys, I think MBZ knows exactly how I feel.
I know this experience well.
When MBZ, you can talk about your story in a second, but yeah, it was just so bad. So yeah, I had to like strip him completely naked. I had to strip myself completely naked. I had to like run upstairs, get a vest for him, get myself some boxers, and then just like oh god, and then
just throw stuff into the washing machine immediately.
Well, I just threw it into a big pile like next to us, and it was like just that it was awful because the yogurt that he'd eaten in the morning had turned into like, it was solid, like it was like actual solid yogurt.
Jesus Christ!
Like actual cheese curds kind of solid. It was just
so my god,
horrible.
Fucking hell!
And all the Weetabix was just grains everywhere. It was just horrendous, and it's just that crazy like the smell of like stomach acid is just so strong and like vinegary, and it just gets everywhere. And oh my god, it was. So anyway, I get myself sorted. He's very upset because I reckon his throat is very sore from all that stomach acid and everything. He's very upset, so I'm like consoling him, and then I message Caroline like, yeah, if you could come home as soon as possible and help out with all that, that'd be really great. So she was just at the shops with Bally Jr., made it back in about 15-20 minutes later, and I just consoled him while Caroline did some sorting of stuff, and then we swapped. I did some sorting of stuff. Caroline looked after him a bit more, and then so yeah, it's all very stressful because we're going on holiday to Turkey in like 7 days, and we need everyone to be fit, and also there's been chickenpox going around their nursery. No. And I've been like looking up symptoms of chickenpox, and like Bally Chew has had a bit of a mild fever the last 2-3 days, and we're just like, oh, this is definitely chickenpox, but he's not got any pox yet, so spots yet. Right. So we're just kind of like, what is it? We don't know. And I looked it up, and yeah, you can also be sick and then after he was sick today, just had like the absolutely runniest bum I've ever seen, and like explosive poos, and it was just like, oh my god, this is parenting. This is what it's all about.
Yeah, this is what you signed up for.
This is what we signed up for. So yeah, it was bad. But yeah, so all of these things apparently can also be symptoms of chickenpox, which is a bit worrying. So yeah, we'll see if we have it. Our main aim is that they're not ill while we're traveling. If one of them is ill while we're there, that's annoying, but at least we get most of a holiday. It's like if they are too ill to the point where we can't travel with them, that's where it's like, God damn, need to call up the travel insurance company and rebook. So that'd be really annoying. But yeah, we'll see. It's God, it was horrendous. And I've just got like the smell stuck in my head, and it's really bad.
Oh God,
like it's just. Yeah.
Oh, I know what it's like, having a smell just permeate a space.
But I reckon in about circa the year 1990.
I think 97 maybe. Yeah,
so
probably
primary
97.
2.
Primary 1 actually.
Primary 1.
In fact.
And MBZ got thrown up on.
By who?
Yeah, by the person who has just become a free member on Patreon, MBZ. Can you believe it? Can you believe this person? The culprit was none other than grass Pokemon legend himself, Ali T. Can you believe
Ali
it?
T, yeah. We must have told the story before on the podcast.
We have, I'm sure, but it's been a while.
But for the uninitiated, it was one day at lunch, after lunch at school, and usually what we did, we ran down to our classroom, because our classroom was right at the bottom of that section, and so we all ran down the hill, and I was running in front of Ali T, and Ali T was running behind me, and he decided, oh no, he had eaten too much and he probably shouldn't have been running after lunch, and he projectile vomits in the air and it goes on my head. And I think I faint at that point in time, because then I wake up like with one of the teachers rubbing shit out of my head, basically cleaning my hair up, because I just got projectile vomited on. So yeah, an experience that I do not want to relive. But Bally can now do it for me, so that's great. He can vicariously remember such a great memory that we all have together. So yeah, good times. You know what also smells bad is that chicken smell that was in my flat for ages. Now that's not a problem anymore. That's fine. That's all sorted out.
Have you eaten chicken thighs since?
No, not. I don't think I will ever cook skin on chicken thighs ever again in my life after that experience. No, I don't think. I think there's something going on with it, and I'm not sure what. And maybe it was my nose and like weird COVID stuff that was fucking my brain up. But I've always done boneless chicken thighs anyway, so I'm not gonna try and tempt fate. Because to be honest with you, like, you can do cool stuff with the skin on, but I'm not that bothered about it at the end of the day. So I think I'm just going to leave it.
Will you buy skin on, but you can pull the skin off? Because that's what we currently do. No,
okay. I probably won't do that either, because it's a pain in the ass. So yeah, I think I'm just going to stick to the regular old chicken thighs. No, I had a slightly different incident that was very frustrating and has cost me a bit of money, but not really that much, to be honest with you. It depends on what you consider free and not free. Okay. So my standing desk, right? I've had it for a while now. It's very good. It's very, it does the job. It's what I need it for every morning. And usually,
your standing desk smells.
No, usually what I do is that I go and make so basically I have my preset. So I have my preset. I press the button, and it takes a bit of time for it to go up, right? So I press the button, and I go get my breakfast every day. Is usually what I do. I'm just like, all right, let's get it set up.
Why don't you leave it on the preset?
I mean, I could do, but I feel like it just is weird for it to be high the whole time, so
who else is going to see it?
Nobody, but
it's
like
beside your TV. That does look weird.
It's beside the TV. It just looks a bit odd and stretches the wires, whatever. Also, I don't know if it's like good safety to keep it raised the whole time, but I decided, that's what I do anyway. And also, usually what happens is I'm working standing until about 3 o'clock, and 3 o'clock is usually where I'm like, I'll sit, for the last couple of hours of the day, basically. So I'm standing most of the day, and then I'll take it back down. But this is just a ritual I'm in now. As you know, I love rituals. And so my ritual is to, press the button and then go get breakfast. So anyway, I do this. I think it was Thursday. I press the button, go get breakfast, pouring my berries in, getting the granola, all this sort of stuff. I mean, I now eat yogurt, berries, and granola in the morning.
That's healthy.
FYI,
Well
I'm a changed person.
That's good. What happened to your cornflakes?
Well, yeah, I used to do cornflakes mainly because I'm just lazy. But this time I'm like, you know what? I can control the things I eat whenever I want, so I'm just gonna do granola with yogurt now.
Cornflakes nutritionally they're kind of nothing.
They're pretty bad. They also they vaporize very quickly, and so your energy spikes and then disappears basically.
Oh, geez,
so
this
definitely works a lot better.
Gotta keep hunger locked up till lunch.
Yeah, for much better period of time. Anyway, I am doing that, pouring the berries into the bowl, frozen by the way, which is very nice. And I hear some noise behind me, and crashes, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I see the only one leg of the standing desk has lifted, and it has tipped everything onto the fucking ground, and the monitor is like sliding halfway off the table, and my microphone is almost there. I'm like, fuck my life! And I run over, and I fucking grab the microphone, which I put to safety, and then I get the monitor, and I unplug it, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And this stupid ass, like, motor has not, like, been, like, I guess it's untightened over time, and therefore it is lifted one side.
How many motors are there? 2 motors?
I think there's one motor, and
one?
The other one
Okay.
is on one side, and then there's the kind of the long metal rod then has to like pierce into the other side, and the rotation from the one motor makes the whole thing go.
Oh god, okay, right. And mine's got 2 motors. 4 legs.
That is probably better. So anyway, that was not good, and part of it was that I have this very nice dispenser. Diffuser is what they call it. Sorry, not up with the parlance. It's from the White Company, which are one of the most expensive fucking like brands on earth. And I got it because when I got my flat, they just gave me a bunch of free shit. And one of them is this very nice smelling diffuser, which I do like quite a bit. I'm probably gonna buy diffusers now as a result of it because it just helps get rid of like fucking like smells everywhere. But it's liquid, right? And it's very strong smelling liquid. Anyway, the diffuser was on my desk, so it tipped onto the floor, and like half the liquid poured out. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. So now it just like it's kind of overwhelming now. So now it's just like really strong, like perfumey type smell there instead, and that has that's obviously kind of cut out all the chicken stuff, which was basically gone anyway. But at this point in time, it's all the smells are colliding,
Okay, smell aside.
Yeah.
Is everything electronic okay?
Yeah. All that stuff is fine.
Okay.
It was like
the desk
like
sounds like it's broken though. Is that what you need to replace?
No. So basically, I then had to slack work and be like, "This is fucked up. I'm gonna have to deal with this in the morning." So I spent the next hour.
Did you take a picture?
No, I didn't. I should have done, shit. But I'm just really pissed off, and I was like, right, I have to sort this out now. So I unplugged all my wiring as well, because my wiring is like bundled together nicely, and like had to undo all the wires. I have a wire tray underneath it as well, so I had to redo all that. Basically, I had to tip the table upside down and then apply all the motor stuff and make the other leg go all the way down first to equalize it. Then I was able to get it back, put everything back together. It's fine now. It's all sorted. Jesus. But God fucking damn. Now I'm just going to have to every day.
What caused it then? What caused it?
I think it's the loosening of the one of the sides. So the side that doesn't have the motor on it, I think it had loosened, and so when it spun, it wasn't tight enough, and so it didn't spin it around for the other leg, basically. So I think that needs to be super tight the whole time, and yeah, that.
Oh
stupid,
man.
so.
Okay, so hands up. If you could choose, right, my standing desk goes completely on its side, everything falls off, and the diffuser stinks up the whole flat, or endure Ballychew Chunder, which would you choose?
Oh no, I would choose the standing desk thing every single time. Yeah, not even a question. Like, that's not even a close comparison. So yeah, mine actually smells nice is the difference, and that's the thing. I think because I was saved by wires essentially, because my monitor is hooked to the PC, and my microphone is hooked to the PC.
So it didn't slide completely off.
So that didn't get fucked up. Man, so it was
the
fine,
idea of like you were just making your breakfast and you just hear crash bang while up in your single person flat with like you must have thought,
terrified.
What the hell was that? Yeah,
exactly. So it was not great, but anyway.
When was this?
Thursday, I think.
Thursday. Oh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
God.
Not amazing stuff going on. It was terrible. Anyway, hello. After 15 minutes of chat, we're here to talk about video games on the internet. That's what we do here on this podcast, and that is the plan of action for the show. Bally, what are we going to be talking about today?
For the first segment, we're going to talk about the games that we have been playing, and for the second segment, we're going to go to some listener emails.
Yes, absolutely. So let's get into it with some video games we've been playing. I have been playing the latest hotness from Ponkel, who are the creators of Vampire Survivors. They decided, hey, that card game's doing pretty well. Slay the Spire 2, it's doing all right, How about we make one of them? So they have released Vampire Crawlers, which I believe has a subtitle called, I think it's The Turbo Wildcard from Vampire Survivors is the subtitle. And if you go to it on Steam, it says that whole thing as the title, which is interesting. I think that's, I guess, them doing their marketing legwork to be like, hey, by the way, this isn't like a knockoff. This is actually from the people who made Vampire Survivors, blah, blah, blah. So this dropped, I think, last week. I put about 8 or 9 hours into it at this point. Nice. I am enjoying it a good amount. I think it's a really interesting blend because ultimately, when you think about Vampire Survivors, the thing that is most prevalent is lots of things on screen, lots of noise, big number, lots of dopamine, and not a whole lot of strategy, really, at the end of the day. It's very much like, I mean, the strategy is in the picking of the abilities that you get, right? So you get the gems, and you're collecting the gems, and then you're like, okay, right, I've got this item and this item. Oh, these items can combine together, and they can evolve and become much more powerful, and you want to try and...
It sounds really strange for a whole genre that's kind of about strategy.
Yeah, I guess so. And so, like, the idea of, like, having this sensibility applied to a deck builder, which, like you say, is a genre kind of built on strategy, I was interested how they were going to approach that from a design standpoint. And I think what they've done is they've made something that is... Ultimately, it has a similar feeling to Vampire Survivors, but has to be a bit more strategic inherently because it is a deck builder, and so you are not like moving a character around in an action way. You are choosing things and playing things, but you can play things quickly. There's even a button that you can press that plays all of your cards at once, essentially, and so there is a degree to which they're like, oh yeah, you if you get to a point where you're steamrolling stuff, you can kind of just press that and that'll kind of deal with everything. But I found myself not doing that as frequently, and I think it's because of the specific systems that they have in the game. So the setup is interesting because it's not a... So Slay the Spire and, you know, all these other games, they're based around like a map system where you fight an enemy and then you choose a new point and you go to that point and you fight another enemy and then you have shops in between, all this other stuff. The format is totally different here because it is built as a first-person dungeon crawler, which is interesting, especially with pixel art of how they kind of like put that together. But you are basically placed on a map and you can see on the map where all the enemies are. You can see like question marks of like where there might be a treasure chest or something else, and you can see like these smaller dots as well, which are like lamps that you can knock into and get money from, or other such objects. And as you kind of go through the map, you're moving left, right, wherever, you encounter an enemy, and as soon as you encounter an enemy, it switches into combat mode, basically. So then it's like, okay, here are your cards, play them, and, you know, the enemy will do some damage to you, you'll do some damage to the enemy, and you want to not die, essentially, you want to get through. The card are all the cards are based on the same items from Vampire Survivors. So cool. One card will be garlic, one card will be the Santa water, one card will be the axe or the knife, right?
They're going to make more games, aren't they, and just use those same, you know, items across different genres.
Calling cards, yeah.
Right.
I think there's potential for them to do that, definitely, and I think it creates this shared language, which is quite nice between the games. So if you've played one of them, you have maybe a little bit of an idea of what it'll do. It's obviously very different in the way it operates here, but at least on the evolution side of things, I believe all the evolutions act the same as in Vampire Survivors. So like if it was, I think... trying to think of one that is actually in the game. I think if you have the magic wand and the book together, then that creates an evolution, and that's the same in Vampire Survivors, basically. So all the evolution chart that you can take a look at, you could map it 1-to-1, basically. There are some different items in here. There are some more like deck building specific ones, but for the most part, I think they are kind of taking a lot of their learnings from that game and applying it here. And it's interesting because some of those cards are... you kind of want to hold on to them and not play them if you want a specific evolution. So, for example, you can find a heart card. It's called the Hollow Heart. And what it will do is it will give you +3 max HP, but then it disappears as soon as you play it. However, the Hollow Heart can then combine with another item, and so if you want to get the evolution of that, you have to just not play that card until you get to the point where you can evolve it, essentially. So it's an interesting balance with some of those cards, because some of the cards are just like, they just disappear for the rest of the run if you play them, and they give you a permanent bonus. So that is interesting, but the kind of core mechanic here at the center of it is a mana-based literal number go up. So you have cards that cost 0 mana, or 1 mana, or 2 mana, or 3 mana, right? And I think you start with 3, and there are other ways of getting more, basically. So, like, one of the cards I had in a recent run was, it was a book that gives you plus 3 mana when you play it, and it costs 2 to play. So you're basically coming out mana positive from it. So there's ways of, like, stacking that up, and you can get more mana as you go in your run. But the idea is, your cards will be more powerful if you play them in ascending order. So if you play a 0 card, then a 1 card, then a 2 card, that 2 card will be way more powerful than if you just played it on its own, basically. So the strategy here is really, okay, how do I get the best, like, order of cards played in a row? And it's really good about, like, highlighting things. So if there are points of the game where my hand had like 12 cards in it because I had some buff that gave me more hands every turn. And so I was looking to be like, okay, where's the 0? Okay, I'll press that. Where's a 1? Get a 1 there, and then a 2 and a 3, and you're like knocking them all out. And it is just like you're doing loads of damage when you are able to chain those together. And that comes down to, like, the balance of what cards you choose to take. So, you know, sometimes your card decision is not necessarily about, like, what that card actually does. It's about how much mana does it cost? Because if I have a deck of all 2-cost cards, then I'm never going to be able to use them as efficiently because I need 0s and 1s to build up to the 2s in order to make them powerful enough. And so, you know, sometimes, like, there was a run I lost today where I had some 0s and I had some 2s, but I didn't have the 1s to, like, thread them together. And so I was not able to, like, get the combos that I wanted, and that run kind of petered out quite quickly as a result. So it's about trying to get those cards that you want from, like, a damage perspective, and, like, building up your character. But it is more importantly about, like, the order in which you play them, basically. So it becomes this really interesting thing where your strategy, I would say, is generally more pronounced at the start of the game, where you're trying to build up cards and get them as you go, and you get a card choice. It's 1 of 3 choice after you level up. So it's the same like gem system, but what happens is when you attack a monster and they die, the gems from the monsters will, like, zoop into your bar and it will start going up. So instead of, you know, Vampire Survivors, you go on the map collecting gems, here when you defeat monsters in combat, the gems will just, like, zoop towards you, and you can get new cards mid-fight as well. So you could be in the middle of a fight, kill an enemy row, because, like, sometimes there's multiple rows coming towards you, especially in the boss fights. The boss fights start with, like, here's, like, 6 rows of enemies and then the boss, basically. So you can level up mid-fight and then choose that card, and then you can actually play that card for free if you get it mid-fight as well, which is quite nice.
What do you do with the gems? Are they causing you to level up, or is there a shop? Or
yes,
yeah, okay, right.
Yeah, so the gems give you a level up, and every time you level up, you get a card choice, essentially.
Right, okay.
I think the tricky thing about it... Yes, yeah, but I guess in that game, it was more just, like, the item choice, right, of what you're taking. So this is... But the items are the cards in this case, so it's kind of the same thing, I guess, at the end of the day. It becomes tricky when you have... Like, you know, one of the golden rules of card games is having a relatively thin deck, so that you don't draw stuff that you don't want, essentially, right? So you have, like, the cards that you want to play in order, in a good cadence. And you kind of have to take cards, at least at the beginning when you first start playing. You do unlock the ability to reroll at some point, and you then unlock the ability to skip, but they're limited number of rerolls and skips. So eventually you will run out of those, and you will have to take stuff. But there are ways of mitigating. So there's, like, vending machines where you can throw a card into it, and it will transform that card into, like, a permanent buff. So good example of this is the candle item. So the candle item increases the percentage chance of spreading your damage across different enemies.
It's changing it into another card rather than removing it from the deck entirely.
Well, so it is removing it from the deck, but what it does is you have a bunch of stats on the side. So one of the stats is, like, your might.
You're burning the card to boost a permanent stat.
Exactly.
Okay, so you still get the benefit of one less card in the deck. Perfect.
Yeah, so you burn the card, and then it adds to your kind of permanent... So basically, when you go into a fight, those stats are at a certain number, and some of the cards you play will temporarily increase that stat during the fight. So, like, you can increase your might by playing the spinach, right? And so the spinach will go up 10% every time you play it, but when that fight is over, it will go back to its base value. However, like I said, if you find a random spinach in a candle, for example, when you're exploring, that will give you a permanent buff.
Right.
Or if you put the spinach into the vending machine, it will then add it as a total buff to your character, basically. And there's a lot of meta progression here as well. Like, it is the same. Like, they just know what they're doing when it comes to dopamine after you finish a run. Like, the first run I finished, I think I unlocked 20 achievements at once. And I was like, Jesus, that's a lot of stuff that I've just done. And then you go back to the hub area and you can upgrade all of your stats. So you can upgrade your health, you can upgrade your damage, you can increase your spread, you can increase like how good your kind of like base character is. And you can unlock new characters as well, which all start with different cards and different decks. One of the cool ones I unlocked was a character that has 2 guns, and the way that it works is one of the guns costs 2 mana and one of the guns costs 3 mana, and so you want to build a lot of mana in that deck so you can then play, because you only start with 3, right, and that would cost 5 altogether to play those 2, so you have to like build that up, and then you can play both guns back to back, which is very fun. So yeah, the characters bring in their new weapons with themselves as well, and that starts expanding the pool of weapons you get access to, and therefore the evolutions that you get access to, and it kind of spirals from there. It's 5 floors to win, basically, and there's loads of different levels, so different maps, and the maps are similarly kind of like themed in the way that Vampire Survivors was. So like, you start in the forest, then you go to the library, and then there's like one of them's like the field with cows and stuff, and I think they are just basically, they are taking a lot of stuff from that game directly in terms of the stats and the items and the characters and everything, and have just basically transposed it into a totally different genre space, which I find very interesting, because I think there is a lot of people who have like a warm familiarity for Vampire Survivors and everything to do with it, and hundreds of hours they put into it, so like having that almost kind of shared language between them is quite fun, despite the games being very different. I think ultimately the game is relatively shallow, because if you are a system where the best output you can do is based on numbers from 0 through 1, 2, 3 or whatever, then you're inherently always going to skew in that direction when people are playing. And I have always tried to use that as a base point for when I am going on a run, basically. And I've not seen much deviation in it so far, and I've played a good amount at this point. I don't believe there is. There are cool other things, so you can enhance your cards with like little buffs, basically. So if you open a chest, it'll be like, okay, this card, if you add this, will now do spicy damage, like extra damage. This one will increase the spread. This one will increase the might of it. So you can add those little, like, I don't know, stat bonuses to each individual card. And that can have an effect on, you know, how good the damage output is of something or how effective it is. One of the ones I found quite useful was, you can play the card again, it stays in your hand, so you can, you know, keep playing it, and so if you're a 0 cost card that you can keep playing, that's just free, basically. The most powerful card in the game is the Bracer, which when you play it, the next hand that you draw will include 1 extra card. And so if you get the Bracer, you basically win the game, because you just play it every time it shows up, and then as you go through a fight, you will eventually have your entire deck in your hand at one point in time, and you can choose exactly what you want at that point. So you'll have all your options, you'll have the exact like route you want to go through. There are some interesting ones which reduce the cost, the mana cost. So like one of them I found was -2 mana, and you could slot that into a 0 cost card, and that card will actually be -2. So you could do -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and you could do that as a kind of slate of attacks, and the minus mana will give you mana when you play it. So when you play the -2 card, you'll get 2 mana from playing it, which is really interesting. So you can, like, the numbers can go in an interesting fashion to that degree, but I think it's quite hard to like manipulate that, because getting those upgrades, those kind of additions are quite random. So it's the best I've done is having a -1 card. So I did -1, 0, 1, 2, 3 basically, and that generally is the way that it goes. But a lot of the evolutions cost a lot more, so a lot of them are 3 cost ones, and so the idea is usually, can I build up to this? Because even if you play a 3 card on its own, it's actually not going to do that much damage. So you really do have to concentrate on this kind of like linear progression if you want to do well. But yeah, I think it's a really easy to pick up and play game. I've got a lot out of it so far, and you know, I think I'm just going to try and get through like all the levels that are available.
You can see credits with this game. Like
I think so. Yeah.
So.
I mean, like I can get to like an end point, which is maybe, I don't know if they've built it out, because the Reaper does come as well at the end, and the Reaper does 333 damage to you. And I have never had my HP be more than like 80 the whole game so far. So I have no idea how I would have to like bump my HP to get to that amount that I could live a hit from the Reaper. But I imagine there's a way to do that, and that's probably like the true way to finish the game, like in Vampire Survivors. But like, I don't know if credits is a thing, again, that I really care about in these games too much, because it's more about, you know, just unlocking as much as you want. Like, I just want to unlock a bunch of characters and just see, basically, once I've unlocked all the evolutions, that's kind of what I did with Vampire Survivors, was like, I did all the evolutions, I unlocked lots of the characters, and then I was like, I feel like I've kind of seen everything, all the levels, right, as well. So once you have all the levels and the characters and the unlocks, that's when I feel I'll probably peace out of it. But I think for the moment, it's held my interest quite well, despite being, I think, relatively simple, and I do like the kind of light exploration elements of it. Like, it feels good to move around the space. Sometimes I will just be looking at the map as I'm moving, as opposed to like actually looking at the screen where I'm going, because it's much easier to navigate that way. But you get certain upgrades that make subsequent runs easier. So one of them was, I guess they're like artifacts or whatever, but they're basically permanent progression things. And one of them was, if you've already cleared a level and you're just like going through with another character to like do an unlock, you can press a button and it will destroy every enemy on the first floor immediately and give you all the gems at once. So that's just like a nice speed up the game thing for me, of like, oh, okay, if I've already finished this level previously with another character, I'm just going in here to, you know, do a side thing, then I can just blast through that first stage immediately and just go straight onto the second, and that inherently reduces the time that your run takes, and also lets you like very quickly make a decision about like, is this run going to be good or not, because of like, what cards did I get at the beginning, to kind of set the pace of what the run was going to look like, basically. So yeah, I think stuff like that is super smart, and I imagine there's more of that to unlock as you go along. As I said, the unlocks are like endless. Like, you have money that you collect every run as well, so every run does feel valuable, even if you like burn out immediately, because at least you get some money, and that money will eventually contribute towards you getting a new character, or increasing how much health you have when you start around or whatever, or get you more rerolls or whatever. So yeah, I still have loads of gold to dump into unlocks that will give me more stuff. There's also there's like a, I don't know, fortune teller tent, and she has different cards that are like, you can only take one of them at a time, and the one that I've been sticking with is, if you don't spend all your mana, up to 5 mana can carry over to your next turn, which is really nice, because if you have a deck that relies on high cost cards, then you can do a bunch of zeros or ones, and then you can only have, you can spend 2 of your mana, and then you carry the rest of it over, and that just continues onwards, and you can eventually get to the point, like, I've had matches where I have like 13 or 14 mana, and I can play every single card in my deck at once, which is very satisfying, and it does lead to that kind of dopamine effect. It's really quick to play. It's just the battles that you are fighting are done with, I would say, like, at the start, within like 10 seconds usually a fight is done. So it's not like these are long strategic affairs, like there are fights in Slay the Spire 2 where I'm sitting there for like 15 minutes, like thinking of like, oh shit, what should I do here? What position should I be in? Or even other strategy games like Into the Breach. Into the Breach was a great example of like, I would look at a map for 25 minutes and then I'd be, right, now I know what to do. This is the opposite of that. It is very much like, play, okay, great, done, next one, on to the next thing, get the thing. You're just getting stuff constantly. The game is feeding you things. You are in it non-stop, and I think it's a very, very effective at kind of achieving that goal. It's obviously done very well. I think they hit over 1 million players already, which makes sense given popularity of Vampire Survivors out there in the wild. But yeah, I think it's one I will keep coming back to, and a really good just like background podcast game. Like, I've been playing it while I've been waiting for things to cook and that sort of stuff, right? Like, set a timer, play a bit of Vampire Survivors on the handheld, and then put it down, and then come back later. Very, very good pick up and play game, which probably would suit you as well at this point in time.
Very nice.
So,
yeah, sounds cool.
I definitely recommend it, and I think they're going to update it as well, probably, just like they did with the first game, given how successful it's been, and add a bunch more achievements and characters and all this thing over time. That is Vampire Crawlers, the Turbo Wildcard from Vampire Survivors, to give it its full title, as you search it there on the eShop, as I know you will be doing. Great. Bally, you have been playing a game I didn't even realize you were playing, and then you finished it. And I'm very curious to hear about it, because it's a game that I have tried to play in the past and have really...
I was going to ask.
Yeah, I've played a demo of this, I think, and I really just bounced off it immediately because of controls at the end of the day, because I'm very finicky, as you know, when it comes to controlling video games, and I just did not like how this game controlled at all. But Bally, keep us in suspense no longer. What video game have you been playing?
This game is Katamari Damacy Reroll. So it's obviously a remake of the original 2002 PlayStation 2 game. It came out a few years ago on the Switch, and it's a very unusual Japanese game. Like, I think that I'm going to surprised it's not come on our radar more, although it sounds like you would have played it more if you had enjoyed whatever demo you ended up playing.
I guess the main reason is probably this was really a PS2 thing, right? And we were GameCube boys, born and bred Nintendo sickos, and so Katamari has always been the realm of Sony, and been on the PlayStation. And it was only in recent years, obviously, that they've been doing re-releases of the old games and have been putting them on non-PlayStation consoles. I remember this coming to Switch 1 and being like, oh, that's cool that this is finally kind of like widely available for people. So yeah, it makes sense that we never got around to it.
2002 PlayStation, they were rolling around Katamaris. Over on the GameCube, we were rolling around with Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg. Like, that was our rolling around game. Yeah.
Or Monkey Balls, if you want to take it a different way.
Monkey Ball and more rolling. And you're right. This game is tank controls. It is like two treads being your two analog sticks, and force both forward to go forward, do them in opposite directions to turn forward again, both side to side. You can move to the side, both to the right, and there's no camera control. Like, the camera is tied to you moving your tank, essentially your Katamari. And because of this, initially I was quite underwhelmed. I was like, oh god, this is turgid, this is hard. But you know what? I persevered, and you get used to it, and I think it controls okay. Like, I think it's meant to be hard. Like, I think that if it were like a Billy Hatcher or Monkey Ball, where you're just moving one analog stick and that represents the movement of the Katamari, I think that would be a bit too easy. And this game definitely enjoys being a little bit challenging. I don't think it's an overly difficult game, but I think it likes to... there is some challenge.
But I guess you're saying, like, the friction is part of the experience.
Yeah. Do you know the story of Katamari, MBZ?
I know that it's like in space, and there's a King of All Cosmos. There are cousins, and I mainly know that because Gersman keeps talking about how his kid is obsessed with the cousins in Katamari. But yeah, that's about all I know about it, to be honest with you.
So your dad, the King of All Cosmos, basically drunkenly destroyed all the stars, the constellations, and the moon. And then your job as the prince is to travel to Earth and use your magical adhesive ball called the Katamari to collect objects, growing them from small items, and then create new celestial bodies, basically. So it's like...
So you're making new planets from shit on Earth.
Exactly. And before every level... So there's two types of levels. There's the main levels, the main game levels, and the King of All Cosmos will be like, have you ever been to Spain? And then he says something random about Spain, and then says, I'll put these bits on Earth, and then you go collect them up. It's like, okay, and then you go to the level. It's very strange. And then other countries, he's like, have you been to Mongolia? Like, we should really talk about Mongolia. Like, in that country? And then he said, it's just very, very strange. So within the level, the aim of the... Okay, that's one type of level. You're basically building up your Katamari to a designated size.
This is kind of classically what I understand Katamari to be, which is you are rolling essentially a snowball, right? It's like getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're collecting objects.
Yeah, you start with like a sticky ball, and the sticky ball rolls over things to the point where you no longer see the ball. It's just covered in things that it's stuck to, and it grows bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. So the main levels in the game are you need to get to within this size of ball within this time, go. And then there's like these side levels where we're going to give you this much time and you basically need to just collect as many of this one thing. So, and they're all kind of linked to other constellations, so and the star sign. So one of them's like Cancer, and it's like go and collect as many crabs as you can. And I thought these levels were pretty rubbish, to be honest. They were just like, yeah, you collect the crabs and there's no number you really have to reach, and he just says, well done, you collected lots of crabs, great. I really enjoyed the mainline levels where they're numbered like 1 to 9, and then the final one is Moon. And the idea is that, like, yeah, the start of the level you start very small, and the end of the level you have gotten quite a bit bigger. Now at the start of the game, the levels are like, right, well, you're starting in this one small part of the room and you're like the size of a mouse, and then by the end of that level you're basically almost rolling around the house, and you're like so big it can just like you can just like roll into a table, or the person at the table they can roll into your ball. You just take over the house entirely. You go into the garden a bit and you can roll around there, and that's the scale you're dealing with at the start of the game, which is, and some of those levels I found harder than later in the game, because at the start of the game the skill comes in always keeping momentum. So if you hit an item that is too big and you can't suck it into your Katamari, you'll bounce off that item and you will lose an item. So it's important that you're only ever trying to roll into items that you're bigger than, so that they will stick to you. There are like animals and people and sort of quote unquote enemies in this game, and they will be like running around the level a bit, just trying to like bump into you a bit and be annoying basically. And there's something so satisfying about, like, it's very kind of Metroidvania, I guess. Like, they will bump you at the start level, you go and roll around the garden, get bigger, come back, and now all of a sudden I can roll over the mouse that just attacked me, and now I'm bigger than you, and I can roll over, and I'm now going to roll into that person, and now I'm going to... And, like, there's a real satisfaction in that. But it's when the scale changes a bit. So by, I'd say, third or maybe the fourth or fifth level in the game, you start inside, but then all of a sudden you go outside, and once you're outside you realize, like, right, well, the scope and scale of what you can do, because you can like start a level, let's say, and you're 50 centimeters in diameter, and it'll say like, right, by the end of this level you need to be 30 meters in diameter. Oh my god, 30 meters. But when you actually think about the size of 30 meter diameter Katamari, by the end of the level, you are literally rolling across the tops of houses, picking up houses into your Katamari. And I just think this game is so impressive in the way that it deals with scale, where I started this level at like 1 meter large, and then by the end of the level, I'm at a 40 meter diameter ball rolling over a house. And I think the game is really well designed, where you're kind of rolling around a designated area, and there will be very obvious like bumps and like almost like a fence, and sometimes the fence will say like 20 meters. It's all right, well, I need to be at least 20 meters before I can go over that fence. But a top tip from me, I would say, is the second you turn 20 meters, don't just go over that fence, because just because that's the size you need to be to get over that fence doesn't mean you should not just stick in the area you're in for a little bit. Get a bit bigger than 20 meters, let's say 25 meters, and then say you were 25 meters and then go into the area for 20 meters. There'll actually then be some small things in the 20 meter area that you can suck in and grow bigger. If you go too early, you end up just bumping into things, and it's very frustrating. I think that's another aspect that's really cool with this game, is on some of the outdoor levels, you go into like a high street and you're like bouncing into people, and it's annoying. And then, there's a little ball there, I'll roll into that ball. Oh, and there's a bit of rubbish there, I'll roll into that. And then there's this farmer with all those carrots farming there, and I'll roll into all those. And you do gradually get bigger, and then all those things that were blocking you before, you can now roll over, and it just becomes a satisfying. It's, oh yes, this is satisfying. Like, there's this really satisfying accumulation of size, and the camera pans out in quite subtle ways that are very impressive, and it all leads to, in my opinion, the creme de la creme of this game, which is the final level, where the start of the level you start at 1 meter tall, and I think this level, I should also say, the levels get progressively longer. So I think the final level takes 24 minutes. You've got 24 minutes to become 300 meters in diameter.
So you have a time limit for every level? Is that part of it as well?
Yes, you have a time limit for every level. So it's not just willy-nilly, let's just roll around at our own pace. It's like, no, you got to do it. And like, it's annoying to do a 18-minute level, fail, and then have to do that again. Like, there's no checkpointing. And I'm assuming
they didn't add like save states or anything to this re-release. It's just you've got to get through it.
No, it's hard, and sometimes I think overall the game's not too hard, but there's a couple of levels that were trickier. This final level I don't think is too tricky.
Did you fail at all, any, and have to redo?
I failed on a few levels. There was one 18-minute level I think I failed twice, and the skill is in like knowing where to go in the room and then at what point to move on to the next room, because it, like I said,
right. I guess once you have the knowledge, then you can be more efficient about it.
Yeah, the knowledge helps. And if you go too early, like I said, if you're just bumping off things that are too big, your Katamari is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and then that's not helpful either. But what's so special about this final level is starting at 1 meter big, like just outside this house, and you're rolling around this little garden. By the end of the level, so you eventually like rolling into houses, but normally previous levels have ended when you've rolled over houses. This level is like, no, you got to keep going. It's like, okay, well, I've run out of houses in this area, so where I'm meant to go? It's like, oh, well, there's a bridge that links to this other town, and then there's all like these Japanese style island structures, and then there's all these like industrial areas with like skyscrapers and football stadiums. I guess there'd be like baseball stadiums as well, like on islands and things, and then all of a sudden you're rolling onto those, and like, oh, I wasn't big enough for the skyscraper, but I've just gone and rolled over that whole town. I've come back and just sucked up the skyscraper. Okay, what do I do after the skyscraper? I guess I'll roll into that bridge. Oh, I'll just roll into this actual island itself. Oh my god, my Katamari is now like 200 meters tall. Now I'm rolling into clouds. I'm rolling into like rainbows. I'm rolling into like, you can get to a point in this final level, and I think you have to get to 300 meters. I got to 600 meters. I was just made up of clouds and islands and skyscrapers and rainbows and like there's like these tornadoes and these things that are just so large that you've just rolled into, and it is so mind-blowing and satisfying and zany, and that's where this game is special.
I was going to say, this to me is like the logical conclusion of where you go with this idea, is like eventually you roll up the whole Earth, basically, and then you start rolling up the solar system and the universe, right? Like there's a like cataclysmic endpoint to what Katamari ends up being. So that being the end is not a surprise to me, because I always kind of assumed that's what the game was kind of angling towards at some point.
Yeah, I agree, but I think the act of thinking about it versus doing it does feel different, because I did predict, I think I'd seen in like a trailer, like, oh, the rainbow getting sucked in. That was a very memorable thing for me, but to actually do it is so cool. So
yeah, having the progression to be able to
there's something
be in control,
getting jostled about in like these little towns, and then you come back and just roll over the whole town. It's very satisfying. Like, it's very cool. I think this is a pretty cool game. It was a slow grower for me, but by the end of the game, I do think the later levels are much more entertaining than the earlier levels that are they're very indoors, they're very crammed. You're getting the sizes you're getting to at the end. I think that initially you don't even go outside. Like, you're confined to like these Japanese style houses. And then there's just loads of Japanese stuff in there. Like, I'm rolling over like takoyaki. There's like armed police officers that are like shooting at you, and then but then you can come back bigger and just roll them over, which is very funny and satisfying. Like, it's very Japanese in a very good way. I think it's a very cool game. But equally, I'm not feeling like, oh, now I need to go away and try the other Katamaris, because there's like the recent game that came out last year.
There's a new one that just came out, and then I think they also did a re-release of the sequel as well.
Okay,
somewhere.
Like on OpenCritic and stuff, all of them seem to get fairly similar scores, kind of low 80s kind of scores, and that's fine. I think that's what this game deserves. Like, I think it's very cool. It's kind of scratched that itch. I'm glad I played it. I would recommend pushing through like the initial tank controls, MBZ, if you ever want to do it at some point, because I just think
I know myself too well. I'm never gonna enjoy this game, unfortunately.
But those later levels where you're rolling into houses that become skyscrapers, that become rainbows, that become bridges, like, that stuff is just so cool. And yeah, it's funny because when you're playing through the earlier parts of a level, like, and I guess it is a 2002 PS2 game, but like the build quality, not the build quality, like the way that characters are rendered, the way that items are rendered is quite blocky. It's almost like just one step up from Minecraft. Like they're kind of just quite blocky, and then you think,
yeah, what do these humans look like? They are not like,
they're very like
stylized,
like stick figures, and but those are the same humans that are like in the cutscenes. So like they've gone with that style, and then you realize, okay, look, they're doing that style because once you're rendering loads of those people and the camera has expanded, and it makes sense with everything the game's trying to render, especially for a 2002 game, why everything is built the way it's built. And they move in a very staccato kind of forced way. It makes sense. But it's just wild that, like, I love that final level where you are like making the moon basically, and it's crazy. It's so cool. I think that it's a cool game. Like I said, I don't really want to go play more Katamari, but I'm glad I played it, and it's only took me 5 to 6 hours. It's not too long. There's only
I remember it being
there's like 10 main levels and then 10 bonus levels, and like I said, they start at like 15 minutes, and by the end of the game they take like 25 levels.
So what are the bonus levels comprised of then? Are they like different in style?
The one's like, Pisces, go collect fish. One's Gemini, you have to collect doubles of everything.
It's so they're based on like star signs essentially.
But that's it. There's not like, you still have a time limit, but there's not like a number you need to get to. They're just kind of like high score aspects. So it's like, I try and beat my score on this.
And I guess like this was an era where you don't really have like progression in the same way that things are built these days, of like, I'm getting this meta progression so I can unlock a skin or whatever, I guess it was just, it's like the monkey ball bonus levels, right? It's like collect as many bananas as you can within the time limit, and that will count towards your like overall score, I guess, at the end of it, and people would replay them multiple times, and I guess that's what people did back in the day with stuff like Katamari, is like replaying it to get better scores and better times and that type of thing. And we've kind of lost that, I would say, with the way that progression has become.
But it still has that main through line and there are like these bizarre cutscenes, and everyone's very confused about all the cosmos going from the sky, and so there's like a main through line linked to the main levels, and like I said, those main levels are much more engaging, much more interesting, much more challenging, because it's like, you need to be this big by this time. What's funny is the time goes down no matter what. What I mean is, like, even if you reach the size you need to be, the level doesn't end. The level ends when the timer ends. So because the game is trying to encourage you to get even bigger than the designated winning size, as it were.
Right.
And then what's funny is that you can reach the designated winning size, bump into something, become smaller, and you will fail again. So like, you need to be careful once you go over the size to stay at that size. And there was one level where it taken me like three times, I think. And I was like, I don't really want to. I was like very cautious once I had passed the designated
Were you just
size.
Standing still waiting for the timer to run out?
Not standing still, but I was like, I'm going to be very... Because I was like manically trying to get bigger, and then by the point at which I was big enough, I was like, I'm happy to grow a bit more, but I'm going to be very careful now and slow and make sure I don't break apart.
So you can't like manually decide, I've done it, can I end the level now? You have to wait for that time.
You have to wait, I believe. What's really cool is that, especially in the longer levels, your size really genuinely does snowball. Like, you can go I went from 300 meters to like 600 meters on that final level, and the final 300 to 600 I did in like the final 2 minutes, because
that's exponential growth, right?
Exactly, because I'm gaining an island and a rainbow and a cloud, and there's like all these massive things that is growing me far faster than the rate I was growing before. Cool stuff. It's a very clever idea that I think works in a video game in a cool way. And
so one question I've had that I've not asked yet, because I just don't know the answer. Do you stay the same size, the character pushing it the whole time? Are you like not even seeing your character at a point in time?
He gets small. Yes, he gets smaller and smaller and smaller, I believe. Yeah, the prince of the cosmos.
Because I was wondering, like, how do you deal with it when you're at that scale? Are you just like seeing just a ball move essentially, and you're not even?
You're just seeing the ball move. Yeah.
Wow. I was like, yeah, does your character become larger with the ball? Like, you're kind of Godzilla-ing around to some degree, but I guess no, you're just this tiny fucking ant the whole time.
Yep.
Somehow with the power to push, push a fucking 600-meter diameter sphere around. Exactly. That was very fun. Okay, yeah. Very cool. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess that's kind of the logic they go with, because I feel like if the character grew with it, you probably wouldn't feel the scale as directly, right? Because then you would, I don't know. I guess it works to some degree, but it's not, I don't know. It feels like it wouldn't work.
It is wild to pause later in the level and be like, wait, that tiny little fox down there was giving me so many issues at the start of this level, and now I've just absorbed him like an ant. Like, there's that.
Yeah, and didn't even notice he was there. I barely
noticed it, you know? I've just absorbed the building he was standing in, you know? Like that's really satisfying.
I think the problem with the Katamari is, like, I think if the controls were not what they are, if they were, let's say, simplified and, like, modern, then I probably would still enjoy this game, because fundamentally, Bally, at the end of the day, it's a cleaning game. You're cleaning stuff up. You're cleaning stuff up. So, like, if I think that's kind of my frustration with this re-release, is that they remade it or they remastered it, whatever, and they have not gone back and adjusted the controls with even an option of modern controls. And I totally understand.
Well, you do have the option of motion controls, so I think you need to eat your words. They have come back with a new control method.
Great, all right, perfect,
I didn't even use that option or wanted to.
I was going to say,
because, motion controls with tank controls, it's probably even harder than 2 analog sticks.
Yeah, I think so. I totally get what you're saying, of, like, friction is part of the design to some degree, but I think for me, the friction is too much, and, like, if it had been simplified and kind of made easier to control, I think I would be all over this series, because it is so, like, it just has some of those sensibilities that I like, the wackiness, the fun, charming, like, characters and the world and all that sort of stuff, alongside that core fundamental, like, snowball effect of, like, picking things up, getting bigger, and kind of cleaning a space up, and kind of, like, almost hoovering it into your one giant thing. So yeah, it's a shame that I never will get to enjoy the series, because I know myself too well, and I will.
I don't know if the new game that came out last year, I don't know if that is tank controls or not. I assume it is.
Yeah, I assume it is, given the identity of the series and how they have kind of gone with it. And I think also Japanese companies, this isn't just Nintendo, but I feel like Japanese designers generally tend to keep stuff that you would have thought they would have changed by this point in time, but they don't. I think that's probably the case. But very cool. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's a cool one to go back to and see how it kind of turned out. Cool. There was one other thing I added to this list, but I think we've gone long enough, so we can cut that off. I'll probably come back to that when I've played more of it later down the line anyway. We're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we are going to dive into your emails. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the second part of today's show. It is time for emails again. If you would like to write into the show, please email ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. That's ThisNintendoLife@gmail.com. We also have a channel that's on our Discord server. It's called Emails. Come and join the community. It's a good chat. We chat on there quite a bit. I'm really enjoying the Discord community at the moment. It's a good place to be. So yeah, post a comment, a question, anything you like over there in the emails channel, and we can also get to your emails over there. Our first email is from Ryan from the internet. Says, "Hey MZ and Bally, with all the hype around Slay the Spire 2, including MBZ talking about it, I've been debating trying it out in early access. I've never bothered with an early access game before, but I finally decided I didn't want to wait for the final release. MBZ mentioned he hadn't gotten a win yet, and that it seemed tougher, so I kept my expectations low. The only things I really know about the game so far are the new characters, but other than that, I haven't looked up anything about the game itself. I plateaued around Ascension 10 to 12 on characters in the first game. I did my first Ironclad run completely blind last night, and, well, here's a screenshot of my current 100% win streak. Obviously this means I can never touch the game again and will retire undefeated against the Spire. Here's hoping you have more luck with your runs." As for my question, if Nintendo did a first-party game that would have early access, what franchise and type of game within that franchise do you think would be a good fit? Maybe some sort of Mario roguelite, or an MMO style game with an expansive cast of side characters like Zelda. Cheers, Ryan.
Well, Ryan, I think, I have to admit, I still have not won a run at Slay the Spire 2.
First time, Slay the Spire 2, that is wild.
Well, I think the thing is, he revealed something here, Bally, which is that he reached Ascension 10 to 12 in Slay the Spire 1. I only ever beat the game on Ascension 0. I never went past that. So I think both of us, to be honest, not very good at Slay the Spire.
Is Ascension like the fire factor or whatever in Hades 1?
It's the difficulty scaling, basically. It's like get it harder and harder and harder, and I think 20 is the max in Slay the Spire 1. I beat Slay the Spire 1 multiple times, but always on Ascension 0. So I was never very good at Slay the Spire, so I think it goes to show that, if you had some higher level skill in Slay the Spire 1, you could just get into Slay the Spire 2 and do pretty well. But yeah, I do want to go back and play some more of it. I may just wait now until it goes to 1.0. I've had a good amount. I've played a decent chunk, but it's just fucking difficult. I'm just really bad, I think. I just don't really know what I'm doing a lot of the time and feel like, I don't know, there was something about the first game that felt a lot more approachable than Slay the Spire 2, which I am finding is kicking my teeth in a lot more frequently. And maybe I'm just not finding the broken builds, but it's rough. But it's interesting because Slay the Spire 2 is another good example, and similar to Hades 2, of like, early access these days is honestly like, okay, it's basically kind of a finished game, Like, I think the expectation from players is so different now compared to what it used to be. Back in the day when early access first was a thing, it's like players would be like, oh yeah, it's in early access, it's kind of like maybe a bit janky and, has some problems and there's not much content there, but, I'm helping to make this game better, and so I'm going to tell developers what I think is good about it and what they should change and all this sort of stuff. I think we're now at a point where there have been so many high-profile early access games that have been such high quality out the gate that it's kind of changed the expectation around it generally. And so people are coming into early access being like, oh no, I expect this to be a pretty good thing off the bat, right? Like, I think Fields of Mystery is a great example of that, where I played that game and I'm like, wow, how is this early access? This is very polished and almost feels like done already, aside from a few things of like, well, the romances weren't fully in there, stuff like that. And, that game has only gotten more and more stuff over time and continued to develop and is still as good as it was probably. And it's just, when it comes out in 1.0 will be even better. But off the gate was a great video game. And I think Slay the Spire 2, Hades 1 as well, and Hades 2, both like really good examples of early access being done in a way where the expectation just gets bigger and bigger from people. So I think to some degree, on the question of Nintendo doing early access, I think Nintendo would have a very polished thing anyway, so it would kind of fit the mold of where early access is at the moment. I think it's such an interesting thing because I feel like early access as an idea is like the antithesis of Nintendo's ideology as a company, right? Like their whole thesis is we're a magic box and we we create video games out of like, gumdrops and starlight, and out they come, and you're like, wow, how did anyone make this? This is magic, basically. And so if they were to reveal the process of like, well, actually, there's a lot of like messy stuff in game development, and it's not all amazing all the way around, and put out a game, I feel like they would fear it would damage their image, I would say, in terms of their perspective.
They'd be like, yeah, we have put the game out, but that was the demo, and this is like, I feel like they would potentially do it, but just label it completely differently or market it a different way. Like, for example, numerous online multiplayer games that Nintendo have done. They've done free trial weekends, as it were. It's a server test at their end, but I'd argue that's probably the closest they've ever come to early access, is when they've done it for ARMS and Splatoon,
and to be honest, that is the based on the product that is going to be fully polished and final as well, right? Like it's a little preview of it's essentially a demo, right? It's a preview of a thing that is a fully polished thing that isn't expected to like get better over time. That said, I do think that you could classify certain Nintendo games as having come out in early access from a content standpoint. I'm thinking of during the Switch generation when people were annoyed at the Mario sports games shipping with like no content, and then Nintendo would like add some stuff and be like, oh, we're going to add a court in here now, and now you can do these other things in Mario Tennis.
It was full price from day one, and then so it's another way of just remarketing early access, I guess, right?
To some degree, but I think from Nintendo's perspective, they would say, no, the game's a full product. We're just adding to it because now that's what people do in video games, is you like update them over time. It's like, Animal Crossing, getting events that always were in Animal Crossing, but now they're things that are tied to like an update cadence. I feel like Splatoon 1 is maybe the best example of a game that shipped relatively bare bones in terms of the number of maps and options and things you could do, and then slowly over time they added more stuff to it, made things a bit more fleshed out, and eventually it became a game that had like lots of different maps and things in it. And I think Splatoon generally is how that series is treated by Nintendo, is more of a it's maybe got less stuff when it comes out, and then over time they add to it because they want to keep the community updated.
They've already released an early access game this year in Pokemon Champions. Like, that is
of course,
an early access
true.
game. That game is broken bugged and like
I mean, they've also done it with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, right? Another game that came out broken and bugged.
In their defense, on Pokemon Champions, that is free to play.
Yes.
And I guess that game can only get better, I guess.
You would think so.
Yeah. The idea of like a Mario roguelite, I like that a lot. And I think that's probably something that Hades 2 and Slay the Spire have in common, is that they're quite systems-heavy roguelikes, and it's not really a genre Nintendo are that into, but are arguably getting more into with... they had the mode in Splatoon, and there was some other mode they had in the game I've forgotten already.
I think it was Donkey Kong as well, right?
Right, exactly, Donkey Kong DLC. So, could Mario ever work as a roguelike? I do think it could work. I think it would have to be a 3D version almost of Mario Maker in some way, and it's some sort of creative tool thing where each level keeps on changing, but again, they would never release that in early access. That just wouldn't be a thing they'd consider. It would come out as a perfectly formed thing.
I think the thing about early access is part of the intention behind it is to have community feedback, is to work with an audience and figure out what they like, what they don't like, see if you can align along those lines. And sometimes it's good to ignore audience feedback because players don't know what they want a lot of the time. But I think it's just about finding that balance of like, okay, how do we manage like what we want to do with what the community would like to see in this game and have it improved. And I think ultimately Nintendo, we always talk about how they like are really bad at accessibility, and part of that is like, we want you to play the game this particular way. And so that attitude just doesn't work with early access, because they are handing you a thing and saying, we have crafted this for you, you will enjoy it the way that we have crafted it for you, you don't need to get involved in these conversations, we're not going to listen to you for these conversations. I think the only time this works with Nintendo is between games. You know, Breath of the Wild comes out as a result of people not liking Skyward Sword very much, right? And people being like, oh, I'm sick of the Zelda formula, it's the same again and again, and the Zelda team probably hearing this and having that feedback come in from fans after a game has come out, and then pivoting.
They would never admit
No, certainly not. But like, I think that's the result of them pivoting. Like, I think Twilight Princess, obviously, a direct response to Wind Waker and the things that people were annoyed about, and that is, you know, that is them taking the next project and implementing feedback after the fact, but not crafting a game alongside a community to make it what they want it to be, basically. So, I think it's a hard thing for them to do.
On early access, more generally, I'm interested in your opinion, especially with Slay the Spire 2 and Hades 2 last year. What should the games media, games press do when it comes to reviews and awards around early access? Because I think they're kind of stuck in the middle at the moment. And I would argue with something like Hades 2, it had a lot of heat when it came out in early access. And I'd say it's still got a lot of heat with its official 1.0 release. And I guess 1.0 release always now has the, you know, cross-platform release. Like, that's the 1.0.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So that will, I guess, dictates it somewhat. But I think unquestionably Hades 2 at 1.0 was slightly lessened by early access. Like, early access 100% partially reduces the impact of that 1.0 release.
Well, I think only in the case of the sequel, because the original Hades obviously didn't blow up in the same way as
in early access.
Yeah. So like in early access Hades 1, some people were playing it. It was on Epic, for God's sake. Not many people played it on there. And then it came to Steam and some more people played it. And so Hades kind of like, you know, sat in the background for a bit. It wasn't really that high profile. And then when 1.0 came out, that's when everybody played it. It was on Switch and it was like a massive deal. And I think because Hades 1 was such a massive deal, it meant that day one of early access of Hades 2 was already a massive deal because expectations are so high for a sequel when you're one of the best reviewed, like best thought of games ever made. So I think inherently Hades 2 had a disadvantage because it was a sequel in that way. I think Slay the Spire 2 is a similar situation where, I mean, how many people were playing Slay the Spire 1 in 2017? You can go back on the Steam CCU chart. I think it's like 300 people were playing it the first week it came out, right? Like, it was a tiny game that came out and slowly over the years built up an audience, built up a fan base, and got to the point where Slay the Spire 2 comes out and crashes Steam, you know? Like, it's so big and it's so, like, far-reaching that everyone is playing it and everyone is talking about it.
Is it like the Elden Ring DLC when it got nominated for GOTY? You know, like, it's if there's a successful sequel that's come out in early access, should it be considered? Like, should Slay the Spire 2 be considered this year? Or does that just reduce its impact when...
Well, it's interesting because Hades 2 was not considered and it suffered from a similar thing, right? So I think it comes down to what are the people at those publications willing to do? And at the current moment in time, I believe Slay the Spire 2 doesn't have an open critic score because there's not enough reviews. Because even being the biggest early access game there's ever, and this is a good tip for people doing fancy critic out there, this is one of the biggest early access games of all time, and it can't get an open critic score. So don't draft early access games, people. It's a bad idea. They will not get enough reviews.
There's still clearly a consensus that, like, we're going to review 1.0 and that's our policy. That's the consensus right now.
I think that is the consensus.
Breaking that for the time being.
No, I don't think so. Like, so I think IGN sometimes does like review in progress for early access games, but it doesn't like.
I thought that was more like their like online multiplayer, like an Overwatch. You know, like it's
right. They do it for that as well. I think it depends. The thing is, like, if you want clicks, then saying Slay the Spire 2 review is a good way to get clicks. So I think that could be.
That's why I'm also surprised more people don't review it.
Right.
Why don't people do 2 reviews?
Yeah, I guess it's a weird situation, but I feel like at this point in time, it seems that the consensus, generally speaking, is not to do that. I think with online games, it gets funky. PUBG was nominated the year it came out, and that was explicitly in early access.
Interesting,
but it was able to be, you know, on the awards and everything. So yeah, I think it's a quagmire that's very hard to wrangle, but I do feel like a lot of people in those spaces play it for a bit but don't want to fully commit to it because they know they want to wait for it to come to 1.0 and then make a final judgment when that happens. So I think that's probably the way of it. But I don't know. The thing that I kept thinking about with this question is the secret Nintendo game that only a few people have played, that online thing. What is up
with that? What is
the hell is that thing?
They do early access, but it's a secret.
It's a secret early access, yeah, exactly. And you have to sign like an NDA or whatever and be like, I can't talk about it. Which I feel like people have talked about it being like Minecraft-esque in some way. You're building things up and transporting things about. And so they, obviously, for a game like that, an MMO-style thing, you kind of have to have early access or like some kind of testing period or play testing period. Because if you're doing a thing with so many people, you have to get that many people on board in order to test that it works and servers and all this sort of stuff. So you know, they're trying to be secret about it, but you know, there's stuff out there about this game that exists and you can find it. Because, you know, if you're dealing with people on the internet, it's always going to be, you know, leak
an open
possibility.
An open book.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is probably a good candidate if they were to do something to make that game a quote unquote. I think the thing is they would never call it early access, right?
Yes,
they would probably put something out there that is like, hey, we're kind of getting feedback on this thing, but like we're not saying that's what it is. We're just kind of developing it.
What is it called? Is it called Game Chat this year? It's like, yes, we've been voice chatting in games for years and years and years, but now we're going to call it Game Chat. But yeah.
Well, Bally, you see the difference with Game Chat is that it transcribes what you say.
It does transcribe what you say, you know, and all your expletives. Somehow, I wonder if they've updated that yet. But we should try playing some Mario Kart and doing some swearing. Yeah,
it's a good question. Yeah. We should go back to it. Mario Kart, I guess that's another one you could consider online as well.
Mario Kart World.
It's one that you would expect to have been updated more at this point in time, but it hasn't been.
Wild.
So
yeah, good one.
In any case, interesting question for sure.
Our next email is from Chad, who's from the internet, says, hey guys, I'm guessing you are just as excited as I am to play Rhythm Heaven Groove when it comes out in July. I've been dipping in and out of Bit Trip Runner on the old 3DS and occasionally fire up the Wii to show my kids how awesome I am at Guitar Hero 3, although these old fingers have definitely lost some of their spring. So as you can see, I like rhythm games, but what are the best rhythm games? I would like you to tell me. Thanks for the great podcasting. I have a proposal.
Okay.
We make an official TNL joint top 5 rhythm games of all time.
Okay. Are there enough, do you think?
That's why I'm going top 5. That's why I'm going top 5.
Are there 5 for you anyway? In terms of
I've played stuff? 5, yeah. You not played
Guitar Hero 3, Guitar Hero on Tour, Guitar Hero Green Day, or was it Rock Band Green Day?
Rock Band.
they're all just the fucking instrument games basically. I definitely have a bit of a broader look at this. Part of that is down to the fact that we published a rhythm game, and so I ended up playing a lot of rhythm games for research. So I have played a bunch of stuff that I could recommend here that I think are quite good, and it kind of like goes into different realms of types of rhythm games.
I think there's only one number one that we're going to agree with.
Yeah, which
the number one rhythm game of all time is Beat Saber.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think Beat Saber, I think obviously you need to have the hardware to do it and to make it work, but it is ultimately the best reason for VR to exist, I would say. And I think it's the weird thing about rhythm games, and I think this is same with certain types of genres, but there are certain games that I like to get better at, right? I like to put on harder difficulties and learn and get better at, and I think rhythm games, the challenge of it is such a draw to me. Having Guitar Hero and going up all the levels and stages and being able to eventually do Through the Fire and Flames on hard difficulty, that was a journey of learning. And it's also about repetition, and music is so good for that because you're always re-listening to music anyway, so it always makes sense within a rhythm game to be replaying stuff because you're always listening to songs that you like again and again. And I think Beat Saber is a great example of one where I just spent a lot of time getting better and better and better to the point where at this, when I do a Beat Saber map now, I'm not even think. My brain doesn't even think. My arms just move and things happen. And I don't even consciously know what's going on. I've just like absorbed it to the point where I like look like some fucking weird person. Like probably, you know, if you watched me do it, I'd look like an idiot. But like when I do it, I feel like I'm fucking Neo in the Matrix, like dodging. And
do you have your guitar ready to go in your flat if you wanted to one weekend to like set it up? And
for Guitar Hero,
yeah.
no, probably not. But I do have the headset, so Beat Saber is definitely a possibility. Okay. It's just about space, really, at the end of the day with VR and making that stuff work. Yeah, that would be high up on my list.
We both played Rhythm Heaven Megamix.
Yes, and I think Rhythm Heaven Megamix is like probably the best distillation of the Rhythm Heaven series, generally speaking. It's obviously a very different type of rhythm game, and I would kind of put it in a different bracket to the traditional Beat Saber guitar. And the other thing with Beat Saber and Guitar Hero is that those are like licensed music, right? And Rhythm Heaven is very much built on this is original music, right? That's kind of the idea of it. And the game is the music, really, right? Like the famous Spin It Boys is like is iconic because that's part of the track itself, and playing the game and hearing the cue to then press the button to make it work. It lives in this kind of realm of games like Melatonin, which was an indie rhythm game that came out that I actually haven't played yet, that I do want to get to. Same with Bits and Bops that came out earlier this year that I played, that I quite enjoyed, which is very much riffing on Rhythm Heaven as an idea. And then Rhythm Doctor, which is a really interesting game that was in early access, fun from the previous topic, for a long time, and is now in 1.0, and I only played a couple of hours of Rhythm Doctor, but Rhythm Doctor is very, very good, and it is a literal one-button rhythm game, but it is about pressing on the 7th beat every single time, and the way that they mix that up and make it work is kind of insane, and yeah, I definitely need to get back to that thing, because it's very hard, but I think like super satisfying when you figure it out and kind of get everything down. So yeah, that's another one that I think kind of lives in this realm of not like scrolling rhythm games. I guess like the scrolling rhythm games is what you kind of traditionally think of, and those are what a lot of the arcade ones are based on as well.
Right.
But this kind of like subgroup is, I guess, Rhythm Heaven is like the genesis of it to some degree. It's very interesting.
Did you play Rhythm Thief and the Emperor's Treasure?
I did play that.
Play it as well as me?
We both got that as part of our 3DS something Humble Bundle, I want to say.
It's like the Layton rhythm game, I would argue. It's like
it's very much like mini game driven, and so it's another kind of weird twist on it. Like the rhythm exists there, but it is it's between story moments and character dialogue and stuff, and you're like doing specific taps as you go through, and as that stuff happens, which I think is quite cool. There was lots of funky rhythm games of that era, like the DS as well had Elite Beat Agents, of course, which was a big one that I actually played for the show, like, God, how long ago? Maybe 8 years or something at this point.
I think I own that game. I think Caroline's old DS collection has that game. I have the
you should
DS.
100% play Elite Beat Agents. Definitely. I think you'd really enjoy that game. It's fucking difficult. I remember the final level of Elite Beat Agents, I was like sweating. It took me like an hour and a half to finish it, and the song is 4 minutes long. Like, it was fucking hard. But it's a excellent, weird game that I enjoy quite a lot. Kind of like built around like the narrative thread of it, of like each of these situations the Elite Beat Agents are like kind of drafted and sent out to kind of fix and sort. That became a whole thing unto itself, which is very cool.
What about the ultimate nostalgia pick?
Yes. Donkey Konga, of course. Yeah, the bongos and having that as a peripheral. And, when we figured out, instead of clapping, you could just tap the side of the bongo, getting all the hacks
you don't even have to push either side of the bongo. You can push both bongos for a right or left.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So you can just keep pushing both sides and tapping for claps, and that's all you have to do. Yeah. That had like Blink-182, all the small things like on it.
It did, yeah, but they were like covers, weren't they? Like they weren't actual versions of the song, I want to say, because otherwise the license fee.
I believe they were covers. You're right. Yeah.
It would have been ridiculous.
And it still had like all the Nintendo music in there, like
right.
Zelda main theme, Mario.
Yeah.
Like it was all in there.
That stuff is great.
Yeah.
One that I have not really talked about on the show, but I've played a lot of, is Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy on 3DS.
Oh, yeah.
Which is fantastic. And obviously it is so driven by your understanding of Final Fantasy music and what ones you've played. So part of Theater Rhythm and why I've gone back to it again and again is every time I play a new Final Fantasy, I'm like, oh, okay, and now I know the music of that. Now I want to experience it through the rhythm game side. And so I have only really played thoroughly the catalogs on there of the Final Fantasy games that I've already played. And so part of my desire to play more Final Fantasy games is so that I can familiarize myself with the music, and then I go back to Theater Rhythm and I'm like, now I can enjoy the music from the next Final Fantasy, basically, that I end up playing. And I really need to get the one on Switch, because I think that's added, like, I think there's Live Alive music in there, and there's some Chrono Trigger stuff. Like, there's some really good stuff in there. I would fucking kill. I would murder a man for the Theater Rhythm team to make a Xenoblade Theater Rhythm. That would be the greatest video game I think ever made by humans. Because, like, I mean, for me, that's like peak soundtrack. So that's definitely up there. In terms of other weird rhythm games, so I've played Persona 4 Dancing All Night, which is the Persona 4 rhythm game that has music from Persona, but also original tracks for that game. It's a very odd rhythm game. I played it on Vita, and it has like this kind of like 6-point note system where the notes like go from the center, and you have to press the buttons that correspond as they kind of hit the edges. I feel rhythm games are so interesting because there's so many different approaches that they take to how they work. And you obviously have, like we said, like the traditional scrolling towards you note highway stuff, but there are so many different twists and versions that people have come up with over the years. And I think it's a very just flexible genre, generally speaking, with some really innovative stuff. And people still make new types of rhythm games that I've never really seen before. There was a Next Fest demo I played. I can't remember the name of the game now, but it used keyboard to like tap out like 5 different buttons, and then the mouse you could also move across left and right as like a 2-layer thing. So it was like a fucking double-decker rhythm game where the top where you would move a mouse on like a lane, and then you'd also be tapping buttons at the same time. Very much like rub your stomach, tap your head thing, but was very unique, and I've not really seen anything like it before. So lot of unique stuff out there. I've also played a lot of, so, you know, went to Japan, got tons of rhythm games in the arcades there, and I've played a lot of those. And I got back home to the UK and I was like, I fucking need that fix. So I went to look up like what is the closest to like Japanese arcade rhythm games, and the one that I came across is DJ Max Respect, which I have played a good amount of at this point in time, and that is using your keyboard with like scrolling towards you type stuff, but it's very, very good. It has a lot of music. You can get it quite cheap these days because it goes on sale pretty frequently, and it has like the most DLC I've ever seen for any video game, I think, on Steam. It's like insane how much stuff you can play there. So yeah, that one's very good. And then obviously I'm extremely biased, but legitimately the arcade mode in Unbeatable is probably my favorite rhythm game of all time. Mainly, I have played like maybe 100 hours of that thing just because I've worked on it, and so that's part of me having to play it. But it's also, I think, the rhythm game I'm maybe the best at this point. I can do most songs on the hardest difficulty, and there's definitely like a threshold past which I cannot go. But I think like alongside like Guitar Hero 3, it's probably the rhythm game I have been the best at in my life. In terms of total hours sunk in and amount of time played, and also just enjoyment from it. So yeah, that one obviously, very inherently biased, but yeah, I've put a lot of time into that game for sure.
What are we going to do in our top 5 then?
I don't know. I feel like there isn't really a top 5 here.
You don't want to do a top 5?
I don't know that it would make sense, because I feel like you have played like a set of these, but I've just played so many rhythm games, it's hard for me to kind of like, I don't know, nail one down as the king. And they're all so different from each other. They're all so like varied. But I think if I were to recommend ones that people haven't really played as much, Rhythm Doctor even though I've not played that much of it, I think is a really interesting, cool take on the genre that does some very unique things that I think people should check out. And then, I think Beat Saber is kind of the quintessential, like, if you have the hardware for it. And then, I feel like Elite Beat Agents is an interesting one. Just like a unique Nintendo-focused, like, DS touchscreen-based rhythm game that it still holds up today. Like, I played it 7-8 years ago at this point, but I think at that time I still really thought it kind of held the candle, as it were, for the quality of it and the wackiness. And I think it has a similar sensibility to the quirkiness and the humor of a Rhythm Heaven as well.
Nice.
I think that's pretty great. What would you, if you were to do your own top list, Bally, what would you put on it?
I think Beat Saber is my number one. It's just very special. It just feels like the perfect evolution of Guitar Hero, and it's a little bit of a crying shame, the amount of lack of licensed music perhaps, but I did do like the Green Day download, and there's other downloads I can do and things, but anyway, it's just an incredible game. I would honestly probably put Rhythm Heaven Megamix as number 2, and then Guitar Hero 3's just got all that nostalgia, but we actually played quite a lot of Rock Band Green Day at university, so that would probably be my number 4. And then like Guitar Hero 4s, and then like Guitar Hero Van Halen, Guitar Hero 4. Then we went through a phase where at uni Charlie was like really getting into Guitar Hero with me, and we bought like Van Halen and Aerosmith. Right.
Did you get the Beatles Rock Band ever?
We never got Beatles. But yeah, I had a good time with all those. So all those are kind of like a joint number 5 for me, I'd say. But I am very excited to play more Rhythm Heaven later this year. I think that'll be awesome. Yeah.
I think so. And I think like there's lots of great rhythm games out there, and I encourage people to kind of like check out the genre more widely and find some weird stuff because I think it is a space where there's lots of innovation happening, but it's not really a popular genre mainstream wise, I would say. Like there's definitely the big hits out there, but there's lots of cool, like we didn't really talk about like Crypt of the Necrodancer, but like the Zelda, one of those, which is you could kind of count as a rhythm game. This is like a slightly different thing, doing its own thing as well. But yeah, lots of unique takes on it, and lots of ways in which people have built rhythm into other games. I wouldn't count Hi-Fi Rush as a rhythm game necessarily, but like rhythm is a core part of playing that game, and I think it does it very well. Great genre space to explore, and some very, very good ones out there that I would point people towards and try and check out. I think there's a Hatsune Miku game that is pretty popular on Steam. There is quite a few rhythm games just on Switch generally as well. I found, like in my research, there's actually a lot of Switch exclusive rhythm games. I'm like, wow, these aren't even on Steam. They're just on Switch, which is very odd. But I guess that's kind of like where the Japanese audience is at. And there's a huge audience in Japan for rhythm games, which is probably makes sense as to why they're kind of targeting the Switch as a platform to put that stuff onto. One I totally forgot about, which I definitely would include, it's kind of a cousin of Donkey Konga, is Taiko. Is fucking drum and fun,
Oh, nice. Yeah, I thought you were gonna say Jungle Beat, but yes, Taiko.
No, yeah. So Jungle Beat obviously isn't really a rhythm game at all. It's a platformer that you control with the bongos, but the Taiko drum kit that I have, I still enjoy using. I've not picked it up in a while, but every time I go back to that game, it is extremely enjoyable. And obviously it's better to play it in the arcade where you have the giant fucking drum.
Japanese drum,
and that's really, really good fun. But I've had a good time playing all the songs in that, and it's fucking hard. It's maybe the hardest rhythm game I've ever played. Like I don't think I can get past normal on most songs. That's how difficult Taiko is. It's pretty mad, but that one there are so many of those games on Switch, and you can play them without the drum, but I honestly wouldn't recommend it because I think that's really part of the experience and kind of why you play those games. Because I tried to play a handheld one time and I was like, this is not right. It just doesn't feel good at all. It's not what the game was built for. The game is built to be played with those big sticks and that drum. And I even considered at one point trying to mod the drum, because when you hit the edges are not as responsive as you want them to be. And so I went down this YouTube rabbit hole of like people putting foam inside the like edge of their drum kit and stuff. And I was like, should I do this? Should I be a lunatic about it? And I was like, I'm probably not going to play enough of this game to do that, but maybe one day, maybe I will. And maybe I will become a complete lunatic for those games. But yeah, like I said, there's loads of them on the eShop, and they often go on sale for quite cheap. So even if you're just curious about it without having the kit, it might be worth checking out. But yeah, that couldn't leave that one off the list. Totally forgot about that one, but that's a huge one for me for sure. Great. Well, awesome. I think that is going to do us for the podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening to us yammer on about the video games and some such things. We are going to close out, which means we can tell you where to go to find us. Patreon.com/ThisNintendoLife. If you'd like to support the show, that's the best place to do it. Bally, we'd like to thank some of our supporters.
Yes, thank you to our $10 tier plus patrons. They are Sullivan C, Zach S, Thomas, Matthew, Albert, Wicked Gamer UK, Alan, Orange Thunder, Nintendo Man, and Turtle. Thank you all for your $10 tier plus support. MZ and I have been playing a few Nintendo games that we're probably going to talk about next episode of This Nintendo Life. That'll be out.
Bally, I'm going to say some words to you, and I'm going to see if you know anything that these words relate to. Neverness to everness. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Oh.
Nope, great. We'll talk about it on the next show, because that's basically all I've been playing the last 3 days non-stop. So we can dive deep into another gacha rabbit hole that I found myself in. There's a lot of that stuff going on. So go check those out. They'll be enjoyable. And
I should also say thank you to all of our patrons. Also, we hugely appreciate all the support you give the show. It means a lot to us. Thank you.
Yeah. You can find us in various places across the internet. You can find us on Blue Sky. I am at NBZ. Where are you, Bally?
I'm at Ballyman91. That's BALLYMAN 91.
You can find the podcast on there as well at TNL Podcast. You can download us, find us anywhere on podcasting apps of your choice, and subscribe, and then we'll come into your feeds. It's really easy and nice. And if you could give us a review, that'd be very helpful. It'd be nice and be appreciative of it. And then other people will be like, oh, wow, people like that podcast. And then they might listen to it, which would be very cool. And then more people can come to the Discord. And it's all a lovely circle of amazingness and joy. Go do that if you are so inclined. And we have the Discord, we have the YouTube channel as well, all these other ways of checking out what we're doing every now and again on this podcasting wave. Think that is going to do us. There's rumors about the Star Fox game getting announced. Apparently it was supposed to have been announced in April, but we're in May now and it hasn't been announced. So I feel like it's pretty credible. Like Chris Dring was talking about it on his podcast, and he's a businessman. So I think it's definitely going to happen. It's just a question.
Yeah, it's a matter of when, not if, according to them. So but
it might be a Star Fox summer for us, Bally. We'll see. That'll be exciting.
Summer. Excellent. I enjoy that.
Yeah, so fingers crossed, until then, thank you everybody for listening. Be back soon. Till then, bye-bye. The musical interlude used on today's show was Forest Night Fever Turbo from Vampire Crawlers, the Turbo Wildcard from Vampire Survivors, copyright Ponkel 2026.